Today we are going to examine patents. What are patents? Patents are very powerful instruments of intellectual property. Intellectual property is the new gold of the current economic environment. Earlier the gold used to be physical property. A lot of people are still caught in that mindset of physical property. However, the new gold of the current economic environment, the new leading edge, the new competitive edge that has a direct impact on profitability is not physical infrastructure, it is intellectual property. And patents are the jewels of intellectual property. So we shall examine certain key things regarding patents. Number one, what are patents? Number two, why should we aspire for patenting? And number three, what is the process? Now the critical thing regarding the process is to find out as to whether a certain creative output is patentable or not. That is the first step of the process. So we shall limit ourselves to the first step of the process. Whether it is patentable. Now, we shall examine all these three questions one by one. The first question, what is a patent? A patent is an instrument. It is an instrument which is provided by the government to inventors so that they can commercially exploit the invention for a period of 20 years. Another critical reason as to why the government gives this particular instrument to inventors is, number one, of course, to enable the inventor to commercially exploit the invention for 20 years. And the second is that it forces the inventor to disclose the invention. That is the critical and most important aspect of patenting, which is disclosure. So now we shall examine the other questions related to patenting. Chiefly, why should we aspire for patents? We need to aspire for patents because nowadays, if you look at the pharmaceutical companies, patents give us unique knowledge and give us a monopoly over that knowledge for a period of 20 years. So any company that exploits that knowledge gets a competitive edge and can sustain that edge for around 20 years and can have a fundamental impact on profitability. The second fundamental use of why patenting, why using the patenting process, why should we use the patenting process is that patenting ensures disclosure. Thus, even if we do not want to be inventors, we can at least leverage the inventions and innovations which are happening worldwide. We can identify, when we access the patenting databases, we can identify as to which are the inventions which are fundamentally useful for our business and who the inventor is. Now that enables us to contact the inventor and take the invention on license or any other contractual terms which are mutually beneficial to the inventor and to our organization. Now let's examine the critical aspect of patenting in terms of patenting procedure. The first critical aspect in the patenting procedure is to find out whether our creative output is patentable or not. What are the parameters that tell us, that help us identify patentability? What are these parameters? The critical parameters are, number one, it should be a new product or process. And number two, it should be non-obvious. That is, it should involve an inventive step. And the third most critical aspect is that it should have application in industry. So the three critical elements which tell us as to whether a particular creative output is patentable or not are, number one, we need to see whether a creative idea, a creative output is a new product or process. Here the focus is on new. New fundamentally refers to novelty. Second, whether it has an inventive step or not. What is an inventive step? Now this perhaps is the most important parameter in identifying whether a particular creative output is patentable or not. Does it have an inventive step? What is an inventive step? An inventive step is that step which is non-obvious to a person skilled in the art. That fundamentally means that a skilled person in that domain should not be obvious to him. If it is not obvious to him or her, it has an inventive step. And then if it has industrial application, it is patentable. These are the three key parameters. Put your creative output through these three parameters. If it passes, then it is patentable. With that, we close today's session. We shall take on a better understanding of these three key parameters in our next session.